Welcome back. Let's get into business. Now, for the last 8 years, Dr. Patrick Njoroge has been at the helm of Kenya's fiscal policy, a man that many saw as unconventional regulator who stuck to the rules at all costs, earning him the title of a disciplinarian for his strictness that saw financial institutions adjust or risk hefty penalties. But after serving for two full terms, he exited the stage, leaving the financial sector a better, quote-unquote, a better place, according to the Kenya Bankers Association, having steered it during the COVID pandemic. Jimmy Mbogo now takes a look at some of his key hits and misses and what the sector investors expect from Dr. Thuga, who takes over at a time when banks are transitioning to a risk-based pricing model and depreciating shilling that has left the forex reserves almost in the red.
June 17, 2015, and the little-known Dr. Patrick Njoroge appeared before the Parliamentary Committee on Finance, Trade and Planning as the nominee for governor of Kenya's Apex Bank. And after his approval by the Benjamin Langat-led panel, Njoroge was set to start a journey that would go full circle, allowing him to serve for 2 terms at the helm of the central bank. He was not your regular nominee. From turning down the luxurious motorcade and bodyguards that characterized the position to living in a dome-like environment, the would-be toppings of power were of no interest to him. Months after his appointment, Njoroge began cracking the whip, putting Chase Bank under receivership in April of 2016 for being unable to meet its financial obligations.
When Governor Njoroge came to the seat at Central Bank, I would say it was almost like baptism by fire. So it was a period when there was quite a bit of volatility in the market. There was that lack of certainty on what's going to happen in the future. And in the banking sector, when there's that uncertainty, quite a number of things can go wrong. But
before long, Njoroge would face a challenge he had not anticipated. The introduction of interest rate capping law in September of 2016, as Parliament sought to cushion Kenyans from high interest being charged by banks. The measures would then hold for the next 3 years, testing his managerial skills in navigating that environment, an issue that bankers now say it endeared him to the sector. To no one's surprise, President Uhuru Kenyatta in June of 2019 extended Njoroge's term, allowing him to serve for a second and last term. It was during that period that his true test would then come, starting with the phasing out of the old notes in a move to combat money laundering and corruption in the country while adhering to the new constitution.
Convert your currency. Walk to a bank. Do what you can to make sure that this happens.
It caught many of us by surprise, but that's how it should work. If you had money that you could not explain, you see, then the system was such that he held such a tight shop in the sense that there was no way somebody was going to infiltrate the system and bring in that money that he could not explain from wherever it is.
It was, however, his push for the regulation of digital lenders that cemented his leadership role, having equated them to Shylocks over their name and shame behavior while collecting credit issued to Kenyans, as well as steering the banking sector through the COVID-19 pandemic, which saw Kenyans enjoy lower interest and transaction costs when moving money from bank to mobile wallets as part of measures to reduce the spread of the pandemic.
When we had COVID, I think we managed the country's fiscal affairs, the monetary policy, everything was quite okay.
The revolving doors of the office have now turned from Dr. Njoroge to his successor, Dr. Thuga. Dr. Thuga served as the PS at the National Treasury, influencing fiscal policy before he was kicked out of the National Treasury building over a 63 billion dam scandal, which he says he was wrongly accused.
How the decision was made to continue with the prosecution of the CS and to make me a state witness, I think the best person placed to answer that question actually would be the DPP.
But the two doctors showed their differences in monetary policy approach, with Dr. Thuga proposing that Kenya should float dollar bonds to mop up dollars from the local market, an idea that his predecessor differed with. That notwithstanding, all eyes will be on Dr. Thuga to see what he does, having inherited a quote-unquote steady ship.
Dr. Thuga comes in at a time when the ship has been steered through the storm and is still sailing steady, and so he needs to come in and take the mantle, so to speak, and also, adopt the same kind of, steady steering of the ship, because that's what now the market expects.
Sector players have argued that Kenya's central bank needs to prioritize a risk-based pricing model, arguing that it will unlock investment into the sector.
There are a number of challenges that I think Dr. Thuga would meet. One of them, for example, is there is the introduction of the risk-based pricing. Dr. Thuga will then have to quickly get them out of the way, because it's only by all of them having theirs approved and therefore playing by the rules that have been set that we'll now start seeing credit flowing, because then banks are able to price the risk appropriately based on the rules that have been set, and then be able to now on-lend to segments that initially were not being on-lent to.
Many view that his handling of the Kenya shilling, which has been fast depreciating against the US dollar, will be the true test of his term at the central bank. Will he serve the interests of the country or the interests of the few powerful elite? Time will surely tell. Jimmy Mbogo, KTN News.
Just ahead in